Ready to go to work? Come on, let's go. Load. Come on, get up there. Load. Let's go to work. You ready? Morning, everyone. I'm going to meet with Josh today. Josh is a sugar maker that got into it last year. He bought a small evaporator, 18 by 4 foot, I think. Was doing it on buckets. Didn't really get a whole lot of sap as it was a slow sap year anyways due to the weather. This year he's looking to take on a piece of woods across the street from his house that his family owns, all with tubing, as he's got a lot going on. So he needs to become more efficient, and he also wants to get some more sap. So we're gonna go over, we're gonna work with him, walk through his woods, evaluate what he has for trees, and then we'll lay out some main lines for him and see if we can get him set up. So what'd you do getting into maple syrup that makes you kind of want to look at getting a little bit bigger?
Buckets were fun, but I'd like to get into tubing and vacuum just because there's more output. And
how many buckets did you run last year?
150 or so.
Yep. And how much syrup did you make?
We made about 6 gallons.
6 gallons?
Yep.
So last year, you're pretty much all on red maples.
Yep.
And didn't get a whole lot of sap flow. Granted, it was a year that was pretty off and just was poor production.
Yep.
So stepping up to vacuum, how much syrup would you like to make a year?
I feel like a good goal would be 25 gallons.
Now you get a handful of irons in the fire. You're a pretty busy guy.
A little bit.
So making yourself more efficient is kind of the name of the game too.
Absolutely.
Right? How many hours do you think you were gathering buckets last year when you go out to gather?
To make a full trip around, I was about an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. And that you were probably filling the tank how many times on the Gator?
I don't know as I ever filled it fully one time. It was fairly inefficient, and that's one of the things that pushed me towards the vacuum tubing.
So if we can get you to 2 or 3 spots where you can back up with the truck and bring home loads of sap and getting almost all those taps, that would make it a little bit easier on you to be able to make syrup efficiently and get to bed at a reasonable hour at the same time.
That would make it unbelievably easy. Bring it to 2 to 3 buckets or pickup points would be wonderful as compared to running around, I'll bet I probably had half a mile loop on foot, off, on, back and forth. Now granted, the buckets were fun with my son, and I'll probably do a few buckets for his benefit, but yeah, as far as the volume of it goes, central points would be excellent.
Yeah, and you've got family land right close to the house.
Yeah.
So how many acres do you think that is?
About 50.
About 50 acres, yep. And power's fairly close.
Yep.
And looking at it from the maps, I think we can probably get it to one spot, mostly.
Yep.
That would make it work. That by doing that, you're going to be able to make your loop even checking taps and be done in maybe an hour.
Yep.
And have everything collected. So, all right, let's get over there and we'll get it looking at this woods.
Yeah.
So in here, it's fairly thick. And with that, one of the things Josh is going to do after we get all the lines laid out is he's going to come in and cut out all the underbrush where his mains go. We're going to lay out what direction they go in kind of a general area. He'll get that cleaned out. Then we can come back in, get the wires in and hang the main lines, and then go out to the lateral lines at each tree. This is your low spot. We're going to run your tail hold for all your mains coming in to here, and then each main will tie off. So we're going to run 3 ribbons on this one so that you know that's what this is your tail hold and your starting point for all of them. And then we'll go out and now we'll work up each line and get you so you're set up and you can follow it. So when we're laying your woods out like we are right now, we're running every other main a different color. So this main's green and that main's orange. The next one will be green.
Yep.
And what that's doing is it's allowing you, if you get in and there's a spot where they come close, you can tell the difference as you're getting in here and getting this thinned out. Yep. And ready to go. So this tree, we're gonna put 2 ribbons around. This is gonna be a turn tree that you're gonna put a side tie on because your main's taking a pretty big turn here. So by doing this, then you know when you're laying your line out, I'm gonna tie off to that one because we've got to change in direction. So this one only gets 2 on it. So your tail hold's got 3 on either end, and then your big turns have 2 wraps on them. And then we're gonna do 1 for just at your line of where you're gonna go with it. Right now you're running close to 10%, which is a ton of pitch coming up through here. So we're gonna take and go and give you kind of a ballpark of where we're gonna be. Now some of these you're gonna end up cutting down, but as you're cutting your trees, you'll be in your brush, you'll be able to figure out where your mains are going. There, so we're gonna start down there and we're gonna work right up this draw, and then you're gonna chase your maples out with your laterals both ways on this one because they're on both sides of us. And then the main on the other side will grab that side of the other draw, and then that draw gets grabbed by your third main over here.
Yeah, it looks like about 2%.
Is that right to the tank where the releaser's going to sit pretty much?
Yeah, right where your 3 lines are for the tail hold.
Yeah, so 2 is the minimum we can run for percentage. And when we do that, there's not a lot, so we got to be pretty finicky. We're going to end up putting posts about every 20 feet on the long stretches so that we can make sure we don't get the sags in the line. We get those sags, that's what's going to freeze up at night and slow you down breaking out in the morning. So we're going to eliminate those by putting posts in. If we get up in the 10%, we've got enough pitch. We can generally get away with not having to run posts unless it's a real long span.
It's going to be so much faster. Like I'm just in my head, like looking at it in the way you're talking about laying it out, and it's just so much easier than lugging buckets.
Oh yeah, I mean, this main right here is going to pick up probably 80 to 100 taps. There's about 100 in the next one over. Probably 60 to 70 on the third one. And then the fourth, when you finally get that set up, you'll be 80 to 100 taps over there. And we're going to bring all those taps into this one tank. So you're going to pick up close to 400 taps over here in one spot.
Which is almost 3 times what I had last year.
And
under vacuum.
And we're going to more than double your sap. Working with Josh, we've given him a roadmap through the woods. By putting these ribbons down and alternating colors, he's able to follow the ribbons, work through the woods, laying down the underbrush that makes it hard to work. Logs that are down on the ground, he'll get those cut out of the way because we're looking to be able to have an efficient path to get through the woods. This allows us to check lines for leaks in a hurry, which keeps our vacuum levels up and also increases the amount of sap that we're able to produce off this tubing system. So I know you want to bring your tractor in here and bush hog this down to thin it out. Don't.
Okay.
Your maples have shallow roots. Getting in here with the tractor during summer, fall, that's when you can really damage those root systems because they're shallow. So come in here, just cut all this brush off with a chainsaw, lay it down where you're not going to be walking, and then that'll make life easier. Now, if you want to come in and do some work, come in the winter when there's snow on the ground and the ground's froze a little bit. And that'll keep you up on top and not damage that root system. So for this year, where we want to get this set up, just come in with the chainsaw, cut down this underbrush, a couple trees enough to get you your firewood, which you're behind schedule on, by the way. And then we can get you in here and we can make it easy to work. So this is one of them spots where we're pretty tight on pitch. We're about 2% here the whole way. So we're gonna have to be real finicky. This fourth line being about 300 to 400 feet away from your tank, we're gonna have to get creative on getting it back there. I think we can do it with a sap ladder. We'll come in probably to here, and we'll put your tail hold for your main coming in. And then what we're gonna do is, we're gonna put a sap ladder. So we're gonna run a main up high in the air, coming over from from your tank. And it's gonna come to here way up high. And what we're gonna do is, we're gonna have a ladder here that's gonna pick that sap up from down low. It'll pick it up high, and I think we can get enough pitch to get it down over to your tank. So all these 4 mains are gonna come to that one spot, rather than having to have 2 separate tanks, 2 separate ladders. We may have to put 2 ladders in to get there, But that's all doable. But all this brush through here where it gets wicked tight, we got to get all that down to it, because even then, if we're moving on ladders to be able to tie it up, we got to be able to move pretty easy through here.
Yep.
So there's a good chance, even if we're laying this out today, after you get all of your underbrush cut, this is one that we're definitely going to want to reevaluate, because we may end up having to move it a little bit once we can actually see what's going on. It's just super tight through here, and trying to see everything, not being able to look the long distance, is hurting us a little bit. So once we get this down, then this is one we'll definitely revisit. So we're pretty well running out of the maple trees here and getting into softwood and some oak further up. But what we're doing is we're coming up beyond your last maple trees, and we're going to put your tail hold there. That way, if things change, it's better to be too far by a few feet than it is to have to run longer laterals or extend your main line later. This just gives us options for what few dollars we have in it, plus finding a good off species to run as a tail hold saves a maple tree. So anytime we can, our tail holds, we're going to run as off species. Our side ties don't really make a difference because those can be moved and we don't hurt the tree with those. So this is where we're going to come in from that fourth main.
Yep.
We'll ladder up at least once, and then we're going to be able to pitch right down and come right down to this tail hold.
Yep.
And your tank's sitting right there, which is going to save us. Rather than having two releasers, we've been able to work it. Now we're going to lose a little bit in efficiency because of that ladder.
Yep.
But we're going to gain in cost of what we spend on equipment and time, because now we only have one tank.
Yep.
And we're only here, we're about 60 foot from the road. So we're just going to set up one pump out line. We'll coil it up off to the side. You pull up with your truck and trailer, throw your line in that, come down here with your pump and pump in. We don't have power here, so we're going to bring our vacuum over through the culvert from where we're closer to power. So we're going to be able to make this work, and I think it's going to be pretty efficient. I mean, there's 400 taps over here anyways, which is good. It's going to overrun your evaporator. You may be selling sap. On this hedgerow by your house, we're going to start up top, and we're going to come down, and we're going to skirt right along the hedgerow on the one side. We're going to do our best to not weave through it, because by doing that, then remember how we were checking lines, and we can do it all from one side. So we're going to keep you efficient, especially if there's snowpack. You're going to pack a trail down through here. You just walk in packed snow. You're not walking in soft snow, and you don't have to go down in the ditch or keep crossing it. So we're going to keep you on the one side, and your laterals will just run out and grab the trees as we go, and then we'll get you down to that tank.
Yep.
So your tank's going to sit right here. Your tail holds behind it, and your releaser is going to sit on top of that. And from here, we're going out. We've got a main going that way, a main going that way, and then we're going to go off to the right with one more. Each one of them coming to the releaser is going to have a separate valve. So when we do that, if you come in and you're going, oh, I've got a vacuum leak someplace, I can tell because my gauge is down, you're going to come over and you're one at a time, you're going to close those valves. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow that leak to drain the vacuum out of that main line that does have the leak on it. Then you take and you wait a second and you just open that valve fast, and if you don't hear anything, there's no leak on that main line. If you open it and you hear a whoosh, that's your main that you need to walk, because that's got the leak, because it's allowed that vacuum level to come down on just that one. Now we're going to take and do that, but that makes it to where you only have to walk that one main line. You don't have to walk all of them that day. So that's going to save you time. You walk up that main line and you're just going to pull down on your laterals, and the bubbles are going to be the telltale of where your leak is, because you may not hear them all. You go up, you pull that down. If the sap's moving real slow or not even moving, there's no leak on that line. Now if you pull it down and it's moving real fast in that little loop, that's where your leak is. So you only have to go out to that set of trees. So we're going to make you more efficient to where you don't have to go to every tree every day like you did when you had buckets. Now you only go to the trees that have a leak on them. After working in the woods with Josh, we spent about another hour with him going over options that he has for equipment for his operation, his tubing, as well as some tanks and reverse osmosis systems that he's looking at. So we're leaving Josh's. Spent about 4 hours with him this morning, laid out 4 main lines. I'm going to pick him up about 400 taps that we're going to be able to get to one tank location. He's going to need to do the fourth one on a sap ladder though to get it up high enough to kind of jump a little knoll that's in the way. But by doing that, we're going to be able to get him to go into one tank location, one releaser, which is going to save him quite a bit rather than having to run two separate systems. He's going to work now, get his brush cleared down. We'll go back in probably about a month, maybe two, get his wire and his main line up in the air, and then he can start hanging his lateral lines. If anyone else needs any help getting tubing setups with vacuum, gravity systems, any maple equipment, we are a dealer for Leader Evaporator. And we keep tubing supplies, parts, pieces, fittings, as well as taps in stock. We do have tools for rent as well, so if you don't quite need a mainline tool, we do have them available that you can rent. We'll see you guys next time.